Malcolm runs a food bank charity and is raising his teenage daughter Leah on his own. He has a firm belief that staying away from his relatives is the key to living well. According to him, his parents and brothers bring out a side of him he does not like, so he keeps his distance. He stays in touch only through letters, emails, and occasional video calls, and makes sure Leah and his girlfriend, Tristan, never cross paths with them. Elsewhere, Hal and Lois are on a video call with their son Dewey, who has built a career as a pianist and is currently performing across Europe. Dewey breaks the news that he cannot make it to their 40th wedding anniversary. Also present is their youngest child, Kelly, a non-binary teenager who still lives at home. At the supermarket, Hal pulls off an unexpected stunt by arranging an a cappella group called the Gentlemen Callers to serenade Lois with a Bruno Mars number. Rather than feeling touched, Lois finds the whole thing uncomfortable. She tells Hal that she wants to be in charge of the anniversary plans herself, as his constant big gestures have started to feel like too much. When Hal is alone with the group, he lets them in on the fact that he has more surprises in store. At home, Reese is busy redoing the bathroom tiles, which Hal questions since it hardly seems necessary. Reese opens up about how working on projects like this alongside his father helps him feel grounded again, and the honesty clearly moves Hal. When Malcolm gets home, he finds Leah upset in her room. She tells him she was invited to a classmate Allison's birthday party, but the invitation was never genuine. It was meant to humiliate her. Malcolm does his best to comfort her, but Leah pushes back, telling him that the way he has sheltered her has made her an easy target among her peers. Shortly after, Malcolm listens to a voicemail from Lois asking him to come to the anniversary celebration. He mentions that he has already sent a pre-written email turning down the invitation. At school the following day, Lee says something awkward to her friend Cheyenne, who is already stressed about homework she has not completed. Lee tries to brush it off as a joke, but ends up being called to the principal's office for upsetting Cheyenne. That evening, Malcolm is at Tristan's place and the two of them talk about Leah meeting her for the first time the next day. Tristan admits she is nervous, and while Malcolm tries to reassure her, it is obvious he is just as on edge. The following morning, Malcolm sits Lee down and goes through a list of conversation topics he wants her to bring up when meeting Tristan. Lee tries to get him to relax, but before she can finish, an urgent message from Kelly comes through. Malcolm picks up the call, only to realize Kelly has tricked him into answering. Kelly urges him to attend the anniversary party, telling him how much their parents want to see him. Malcolm turns it down, says he is too tied up with other things, and ends the call. Back at the family house, Lois is deep in party preparations and feeling the pressure. Francis and Piama are helping Hal and Reese put together gift bags for guests. A disagreement breaks out between Lois and Francis, and just as it heats up, Kelly walks in and announces that Malcolm will not be coming. Meanwhile, Malcolm introduces Tristan to Leah at his house. The two connect straight away, and the atmosphere feels warm, until Hal and Lois show up at the door without warning. Leah is stunned to find out her grandparents are actually alive, while Hal and Lois are left speechless upon discovering that Malcolm has a teenage daughter they knew nothing about. Faced with Leah, Tristan, Hal, and Lois all confronting him at once, Malcolm cannot handle it. He bolts out of the house. Malcolm reaches out to his old friend Stevie, looking for advice on how to handle the fallout from Hal and Lois discovering Leah exists. Stevie tells him to take a breath and go apologize to his parents before things get worse. The conversation does not last long. Stevie's husband Glenn cuts it short, reminding him it is time to read to their son before bed. Back at the family house, Hal and Lois come home still reeling from what they found out about Malcolm. The mood shifts when Francis pulls out a pregnancy test and shares that Piama is expecting, meaning Hal and Lois are about to become grandparents. Rather than focusing on the baby news, Lois immediately starts telling everyone about Leah. Reese takes the opportunity to put Malcolm down, hoping it earns him extra points with Hal. Kelly then pulls Reese aside and confronts him about recording Hal and posting the videos online without his knowledge, warning that they plan to expose him once Hal is in a better headspace. What they do not realize is that Hal has heard every word, and the shock sends him to the floor. The next morning, Malcolm walks through his front door and Leah is waiting for him. She lays into him for lying to her and hiding his entire family. She also tells him Tristan is already gone, and Malcolm responds by warning her to stay away from Hal and Lois. Around the same time, Francis approaches Lois and tells her how let down he feels by her response to the pregnancy news. She did not congratulate either of them, and he wants her to acknowledge that. Lois offers a reluctant well done, but makes it clear the timing is not great and that it is not at the top of her mind right now. Francis later talks it over with Piama, who does her best to lift his spirits. At school, Allison singles Lee out again, this time over not being included in a pizza outing. She keeps pushing, and when Lee stands up for herself, Allison twists it and plays the victim. Hal, still shaken by everything, feels let down by both Malcolm and Reese. Lois tries to reach out to him, but he is not in the mood for comfort and pulls away from her. At his workplace, Malcolm tries to get Tristan to respond to him. Running out of ideas, he over-dramatizes how he is feeling in an attempt to make her feel guilty enough to reply. Against Malcolm's wishes, Lee jumps on a video call with Hall and Lois. She ends up meeting the whole family: Francis, Dewey, Jamie, Reese, Kelly, and Piama. The call turns messy fast, and people start dropping off until only Francis, Piama, and Kelly are left with her. Leah opens up about what has been going on at school. Piama suggests trying kindness as a way to disarm the people giving her a hard time, but when she draws a comparison between Leah and Malcolm, Leah bristles and shuts down. At home, Hall tells Lois he is struggling to welcome Leah into his heart because every time he looks at her, he is reminded of how Malcolm deceived him. He walks out, and in a poorly timed coincidence, one of his pre-planned surprises goes off, sending confetti flying through the room. At school, Leah takes Piama's words to heart and chooses to respond to Allison with patience rather than frustration. A classmate named Jason picks up on it and tells her it was a kind thing to do. Malcolm and Tristan meet up at his place, but the tension between them is still thick. She tells him he needs to sort things out with his family before she can fully trust him again. Finding out he has 5 siblings is the final straw. She walks out and tells him to reach out only once he has dealt with his issues. At the family home, Lois is pushing everyone to get ready, announcing the anniversary party is just 32 hours away. Hall, meanwhile, is taken by his friend Abe to see a microdosing specialist named Richie, who turns out to have a connection to Francis. Richie hands Hall a pill meant to help ease his low mood, but instead of taking just that, Hall goes ahead and finishes an entire 60 milligrams bowl of the substance. Abe pushes for a hospital visit, but Hall refuses to go. He finds a quiet meditation room, settles in, and tries to bring himself back down before the party the following day. Malcolm asks Leah to put in a word with Tristan on his behalf. Leah reports back that Tristan is not ready to let it go. She then nudges Malcolm to show up at the anniversary party as a way to start making things right with his family. Malcolm entertains the idea for a moment, picturing how it might go, but the version in his head goes sideways, and he talks himself out of going. Over in the meditation room, Hal is deep in a hallucinogenic state from the drugs. He cannot pull himself together and slips into a strange, detached experience where he ends up in conversation with himself. Reese, meanwhile, sneaks into Kelly's school and tears apart the principal's office, setting it up to look like Kelly staged a protest there. When Kelly confronts him about it, Reese is unapologetic. He tells them it is payback for blowing his secret to the rest of the family. Across town, Francis tells Piama he wants to do something that forces Lois to take their baby news more seriously. Piama is clearly tired of Francis making this about Lois rather than the two of them. Francis does not pick up on what she is saying and carries on brainstorming ways to grab Lois' attention. At home, Leah is on a video call with Jason, and the two are clearly flirting. Malcolm walks in and interrupts, telling her he has decided to move on from Tristan since she is not engaging with him. He also says he wants to pour more of his energy into being present for Leah, which she finds suffocating rather than sweet. Kelly, still stewing over what Reese did, decides to hit back by tipping off the IRS about income he never declared. Reese finds out and rather than backing down, starts thinking about how to raise the stakes even further. Lois tries reaching Hull but cannot get through, so she calls Abe instead. Abe covers for Hull and assures her he will get him to the party in time. Back in the meditation room, Hull's hallucination takes the shape of a conversation with another version of himself. He talks about how fear has been running his life, and quietly admits that now his children are grown and gone, he feels like he has lost his purpose. His other self tells him it is time to start putting himself first. At the house, Francis hands Lois a check for $1,000 and tries to open up to her emotionally, but she brushes him off. A little later, he spots a pair of tiny baby shoes tucked inside her shopping bag and softens immediately, giving her a knowing look. Elsewhere, Tristan and Lee take matters into their own hands and bundle Malcolm into the car, heading straight for the anniversary party. Hal continues wrestling with his hallucinations, struggling to make sense of his own thoughts. Back at the house, Lois is starting to unravel as one thing after another goes wrong with the party. In the car, Malcolm pushes back and tries to get them to turn around. He frames it as protecting Leah, but Leah fires back that keeping her in the dark has always been his choice to make, never hers. The words land, and Malcolm goes quiet. Tristan uses the stillness in the car to share something she has been carrying. She tells Malcolm that she killed her abusive stepfather to protect her mother, and that she kept it from him because of where he stands politically. Lois eventually tracks Hall down, slumped near a dumpster, and gets him into the car. She drives frantically, juggling panic calls about the party, until they are suddenly hit by another car. Lois walks out of the hospital with a broken leg while Hall is still not fully back to his senses. Francis steps in to help Kelly get dressed for the party and tells them not to stress about whatever Reese might be plotting. Malcolm arrives at the anniversary party and runs into 3 old friends from his childhood, Dabney, Kevin, and Lloyd. They introduce him to a boy named Hubert, whom they share as a son, and Malcolm stands there trying to piece together the nature of their relationship. He then brings Tristan and Leah over to meet Stevie and his family. Stevie is busy playing referee between his parents, Abe and Kitty, who cannot seem to stop competing with each other. Across the room, Kelly keeps glancing around, anxious about what Reese might pull at the party. Francis catches up with his old friends from military school, Eric, Ken, and Drew, who have clearly had a head start on the drinks. Hal is settled in with his a cappella group. Lee is texting Jason until the conversation takes a turn, and he asks her for an inappropriate photo, leaving her unsettled. Nearby, Piama gets talking with a woman named Gretchen, who mentions she now works as a traveling cow doula. Gretchen notices Piama is pregnant almost immediately and offers to figure out the baby's gender. Malcolm eventually comes face to face with his siblings, and they make it clear they are hurt by years of dishonesty. Dewey dials in from Europe to join the celebration over video call. Jamie casually drops that he slipped away from his military base without telling anyone in charge. Before Lois can get to him, Malcolm ducks into the bathroom. She tracks him down anyway and wastes no time asking him why he hid Leah from everyone. Malcolm opens up and says he was scared of falling short of what they wanted from him, and brings up how they once pushed him toward becoming president. Lois tells him those expectations were never fair and admits they put too much on him. She lets him know she thinks Leah is wonderful and that she genuinely likes Tristan. Reese has also been hiding in the bathroom and hears every word. He walks out and comes face to face with Hal, and as the others start paying attention, Reese tries to play the sympathy card. Hal is not having it. He calls Reese out for using him and then turns to all his children, telling them plainly that their choices have let him down. Lois takes to the floor and speaks to the guests about how completely Hal has devoted himself to her. As her way of giving something back, she plays a video filled with messages from family and friends about what Hal means to them. Kelly appears in it, speaking warmly about how Hal helped them figure out who they are. Malcolm is not in the video, so he steps up and speaks about his father himself. Standing there, Malcolm realizes how strongly he feels about Tristan and proposes to her on the spot. She turns him down gently, saying they have only just started being honest with each other and need time to work through everything first. Hubert wanders over to Leah and the two hit it off, later pulling Kelly into their little group. Lee talks to them about the uncomfortable situation with Jason. Hal and Lois share a dance together on the stage. Francis tries to set off a glitter shower that Hal had arranged in advance, but the mechanism fails and he tumbles onto the stage clutching the bag, sending glitter exploding across the entire room and everyone in it. The family settles together in the aftermath as Hal quietly realizes the security deposit is gone. Lee glances at the camera and reveals she is going to forward her conversation with Jason to his parents in the school. Both Malcolm and Leah both hope the other will adjust to being part of the family again,